Leo, let me ask you something straight out of the gate. What if this Tuesday, November 25th, wasn't just another date on the calendar, but the day everything quietly began to shift in your favor? Not with lightning bolts, not with applause, but in that subtle, powerful way the universe works when it knows you're finally ready. And yes, you heard me right. I said ready. Not perfect. Not fully healed. Just ready in the most honest, raw, soul-level kind of way. If you're here watching this, there's a reason. Maybe you stumbled across this video late at night, looking for answers. Or maybe something in the title hit a nerve you can't explain. That's not a coincidence. That's a calling. And Leo, if there's one thing I know about your sign, it's that when the universe calls, you don't just answer. You rise. So, let me get right to it. This Tuesday, the energy around you changes. Period. Astrologically speaking, we're entering a rare alignment. Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, is syncing with both the Sun and Mercury in a way that doesn't happen often. And when it does, it opens what I call a diamond gate, not loud, not dramatic, but deep, spiritual, and precise. This energy doesn't show up with flashing lights. It shows up as a thought you can't shake. A conversation that hits you different. A strange sense that you're being nudged forward. Towards something real. It's the kind of day where, if you're willing to pay attention, you'll notice the shift happening around you and, more importantly, within you. You might feel a pull toward an old dream, or a whisper of clarity about something that's been heavy on your heart. You might feel like crying for no reason, or like smiling for even less. That's the gate opening. Listen, Leo. I'm not here to sell you magic. I'm here to remind you, you are the magic. You've always had the fire. But this week, the stars finally match your flame. And if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been asking, when is it my turn? This is your sign. This is your moment to start showing up again for yourself, your gifts, your joy, and yes, even your wildest hopes. But you've got to meet the universe halfway. You've got to say, yes, I'm willing. Even if I'm scared. Even if I don't have it all figured out. Because on November 25th, the stars aren't asking you to have the answers. They're just asking you to show up open, awake, and honest. So let me ask you, what brought you here today? What part of your soul is ready to be seen? Leave me a comment and let me know. Tell me you feel this too. Your words help not just me, but others like you, who are walking this path and maybe just need one voice to say, you're not crazy. Something is happening. And trust me, you'll want to stay with me through this entire video. What's unfolding for you, Leo, is nothing short of miraculous. Let's walk through it together. There's something about the card, the Sun, that hits differently when you pull it in a moment like this, in a week like this. It's not just a pretty symbol of happiness. No. It's a reminder. A mirror. A whisper from the universe that says, look. Look how far you've come. And look what still lives inside you. You see, Leo, the Sun isn't asking you to become something you're not. It's showing you what's always been there. That light in you, the one that's flickered through confusion, through burnout, through silent nights where you questioned your purpose, it's still there. And now it wants to shine without apology. This Tuesday, November 25th, isn't just a random alignment on a star chart. It's a return. A return to the core of who you are. A return to joy, not the loud kind, not the performative kind, but the kind that rises up from within when you're no longer pretending to be okay because you're finally learning to live in truth. The sun, in tarot, is about clarity. After a long night, after a stormy season, the light breaks through. But here's the thing, it's not the external sun that makes the difference. It's the shift that happens when you allow your inner light to lead. That's what changes everything. That's what makes decisions easier. That's what makes peace finally feel possible. For Leo, whose ruling celestial body is the sun itself, this card carries extra weight. It's personal. It's spiritual. It's intimate. And it's not about performing light, it's about being light. Without the mask. Without the effort. Just allowing your nature to be what it was meant to be all along. And maybe you've forgotten that for a while. Maybe you've been playing roles. Pleasing others. Doing what's expected. Maybe you've been strong for too long. I know that feeling. Carrying others while your own soul quietly waits in the corner. But this card, this moment, says enough. It says it's time to return. Not to the old you, but to the real you. The one you knew before the world told you to tone it down. There's something sacred about joy when it returns after silence. It feels like a gift, not a distraction. And this week, joy isn't frivolous. It's necessary. It's a form of spiritual resistance. A way of telling life, I still believe. It's a declaration that hope hasn't left the building, even if you've had days where it felt like it did. Numerologically, November 25th carries the vibration of 7, the number of inner wisdom and spiritual awakening. But within that date is also the presence of 1, the number of beginnings. New cycles. Fresh breath. Not because the past didn't matter, but because it shaped the person who is now strong enough to start again. So if this week brings you a message, a memory, a sudden invitation, don't brush it off. That's your light calling itself back home. That's your alignment speaking. And you don't have to chase it. You just have to notice it and let it in. Because when the sun rises in your reading, it's not just a prediction. It's a promise. That after everything you've been through, after all the battles seen and unseen, there's still radiance waiting for you. Not because you earned it, but because you are it. And that, Leo, is the most beautiful truth of all. Let me know if something inside you feels this too. Share it. Speak it. That's how you anchor the light. That's how you begin again. And trust me, the moment you do, the universe will respond in kind. Have you ever had one of those moments where you pause mid-task, mid-life, really and quietly ask yourself, wait, where did I go in all of this? Like you've been doing all the right things, checking all the boxes, staying committed, even showing up with a smile. But something underneath just doesn't feel like you anymore. That's not failure. That's not weakness. That's the sound of your soul knocking. And for you, Leo, that knock is getting louder. We've just come through a long stretch of doing, pushing, surviving. And if you're honest, maybe a part of you started operating on autopilot. Not because you don't care, but because you care so much, for so many people, for so many responsibilities, that somewhere along the way, your own spark got tucked behind the shoulds and the deadlines. But something is shifting this week. Astrologically, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is in powerful connection with Mercury, ruler of the mind, the voice, and inner truth. That alignment doesn't just offer insight. It invites realignment. A chance to return to your center, not the version of you that tries to hold everything together for everyone else, but the version that remembers what it feels like to be fully, unapologetically alive. And here's what I want you to know: this moment isn't here to test you. It's here to remind you. Leo is ruled by the sun. You're not built to live in the shadows of just enough. You're meant to shine not through effort or performance but through truth. Through being honest about what no longer fits, what no longer fuels, and what silently drains you even when you keep pretending it's fine. This isn't about blowing up your life. It's about listening. Slowing down just enough to ask yourself, what actually lights me up? I mean, truly, what makes your heart beat faster in the best kind of way? What moments in the past few weeks or months have made you feel more like yourself? Not the curated version. The real one. Those are clues. That's your inner compass trying to speak. Grab a journal or even the Notes app on your phone. Write down 3 things, just 3, that recently made you feel something real. Something joyful, clear, or quietly powerful. These don't have to be grand or impressive. They just have to be honest. Maybe it was laughing with someone. Maybe it was finally saying no without guilt. Maybe it was a moment of silence where, for the first time in days, you didn't feel behind. Those moments matter more than you think. Because in them, you reconnect with your own direction. And when you begin to follow that, even in small ways, everything around you starts to shift gently, but profoundly. This is what alignment looks like. It's not always about drastic change. Sometimes it's just one decision, one truth, one pivot that says, I'm ready to live from my center again. And if any part of you is still doubting whether that's selfish or unrealistic, let me gently push back. You are not here to fit into someone else's idea of your life. You are here to grow, to lead, to radiate in your own way. And when you do that, you don't leave people behind. You give them permission to do the same. So take this moment seriously, not with pressure, but with reverence. Something inside you knows it's time. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to pause long enough to hear the questions. And then, courageously, choose the ones worth answering. And if this message stirred something in you, tell me in the comments. Speak it aloud. Anchor it. Not just for yourself, but for someone else reading who's been feeling the same way and needed this reflection to remember they're not alone. You're not off track, Leo. You're being invited home to your own fire. Let's keep going. Sometimes healing doesn't arrive with grand revelations or dramatic endings. Sometimes, it comes quietly in the form of a memory you didn't expect, a name you thought you had buried, or a familiar face suddenly showing up in your path again. And if that happens to you this week, Leo, I want you to take a deep breath and remember this: not everything from the past returns to stay. Some things come back just so you can finally release them for good. That's the energy we're entering now. As Venus casts her gentle light over your sign, your heart, which may have been holding on to more than even you realized, is finally being given the space to exhale. You've carried a lot, haven't you? Not just responsibilities, but emotional weights. Unspoken words. Questions that never got closure. And maybe part of you thought pushing through was the strongest thing to do. But now, life is inviting you to try something even braver, to let go. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood forms of healing. People often think it means you have to let someone back in, pretend it didn't hurt, or minimize the impact it had on your soul. But real forgiveness isn't about excusing the past, it's about freeing yourself from it. It's a personal decision, an inner release, a way of saying, this no longer gets to take up space in my spirit. And here's where it gets interesting. Astrologically, Venus is not just the planet of romance. She governs self-worth, inner harmony, and emotional clarity. When she moves through your chart like this, it's like she's dusting off the shelves of your heart, not to stir pain, but to clear space for joy. That's why old stories may resurface now. Not as punishments, but as opportunities. It's not about erasing the past. It's about removing its grip on your present. Think of it like this. Imagine you're walking with a backpack filled with bricks. Every unspoken resentment, every unresolved ending, every wound you tucked away rather than tended to, it adds weight. It slows your steps, even when you tell yourself you're fine. But when you forgive, when you honestly look at what hurt you and say, I release you, it's like pulling one brick out at a time. And before long, you're walking lighter, breathing easier, remembering what it feels like to move without tension in your chest. This week's color energy is gold, not by accident. Gold is the color of inner power, clarity, and illumination. It's not loud, but it doesn't need to be. It glows. And that's the energy forgiveness brings. It's not the kind of light that flashes. It's the kind that warms you from the inside out. The kind that reminds you of who you are beneath the armor. So if someone reaches out, whether in person, through a message, or even in your thoughts, don't rush to build the wall back up. Sit with it. Ask yourself what it's here to teach you, not what it wants to take. You're not obligated to reopen what's been closed. But you do have the right to find your peace with it, in your own way, in your own time. If you've been holding on to something, a conversation that never happened, a goodbye that never came, this may be your week to let it fall away. Write the letter you never sent. Say the words out loud to yourself. Light a candle, not for them, but for the version of you who carried it all this time. And if this resonates with you, if it brings up something stirring in your chest right now, share it in the comments. You're not alone. We heal better when we don't hide. And Leo, your strength has never been in how much you can hold, it's in your ability to let go and still love anyway. This is your moment to begin again. Not because you forgot, but because you finally remember what you deserve. Keep walking. You're doing beautifully. Love doesn't always arrive the way we imagined it. Sometimes, it walks in gently after a long silence. Other times, it's already sitting right across from you, steady, familiar, maybe even taken for granted, waiting to be seen again with new eyes. This week, as cosmic energy shifts and the vibration around you softens, love in all its forms is asking for your attention. Not as a dramatic promise, not as a missing piece to fix you, but as a mirror. One that reflects how open, honest, and present you're willing to be with yourself and with another human soul. For those of you in a relationship right now, it's worth asking, when was the last time you paused to remember why you chose each other? When did you last look at your partner and think, I'm glad we're still here, even if it hasn't always been easy. That's what love is craving this week. Not grand gestures or fixed problems, but small, sacred reminders that say, I see you. And I still choose this. It could be a quiet dinner with no phones, just your voices. It could be the softness of a thank you whispered before bed. Or it might be sitting in silence together without needing to fill it, because sometimes peace is the most loving sound of all. And if you're single, I want to say this gently but clearly, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not behind. You are not late to anything. In fact, you might be right on time. Because when the universe is preparing you for a love that matches your growth, not your wounds, it often brings a period of stillness. That quiet space isn't emptiness. It's preparation. A clearing. A sacred pause where your soul gets to remember what it truly wants, not what it's settled for, not what it chased to feel enough, but what it actually longs for in its purest form. This week's energy is beautifully aligned with that kind of remembering. With Venus lighting the emotional sky and Mercury guiding you inward, there's an invitation to come home to yourself, because only from that place can love truly recognize you. It's not about hunting for someone. It's about becoming such a deeply rooted, radiant version of yourself that love can't help but find its way to you. Not through striving, but through resonance. The law of attraction responds to who you're being, not what you're wishing. So if you want a love that's honest, playful, steady, start offering those things to yourself. Speak to yourself kindly. Laugh out loud. Let your guard down with people who deserve your softness. Trust me, Leo, that's not just personal healing. That's magnetic. That's how real connections begin. And when you do feel something stir this week, maybe through an unexpected message, a glance that lingers, or even a memory that tugs at your chest, don't ignore it. Don't rationalize it away. The heart recognizes truth long before the mind knows what to do with it. You don't need to know what it means. You only need to stay open. If you've been craving deeper connection, let this be the week you make space for it. Turn off the noise. Light a candle. Ask real questions. Look someone in the eyes a little longer. And if you're walking this season alone, create space for yourself in the same way. Because love, when it's ready, doesn't knock on a closed door. It flows into the spaces you've softened with presence, with care, with trust and timing. And if any part of this speaks to where you are right now, share it in the comments. Say what your heart has been waiting to say, not just for me, but for others who might be sitting in the same quiet wondering if they're alone. You're not. We're in this together. And I promise, when love comes again in whatever form, you'll recognize it. Not because it overwhelms you, but because it feels like home. Let yourself be ready. You don't have to search anymore. You just have to stay open. If your heart is the light, then your body is the lamp, and the lamp matters. No matter how bright your inner fire is, if the vessel holding it is cracked, neglected, or dimmed by exhaustion, that light can't reach as far as it was meant to. You've probably felt this before, moments where your soul is willing, but your body just doesn't follow. Moments where the clarity is there, the vision is alive, but your energy won't rise to meet it. That's not failure. That's a signal. And this week, Leo, that signal is getting clearer. There's a quiet truth most of us avoid until we're forced to face it, that our body doesn't betray us, it communicates with us. And it doesn't shout right away. It begins with whispers, that tension in your neck that won't go away, the shallow breaths you didn't notice until someone pointed it out, the constant fatigue that sleep alone doesn't fix. These are not just physical glitches. They are the early knocks of a body asking, "Will you please check in?" The energy of the stars this week isn't just about expansion and breakthrough. It's also a gentle, persistent call to come home to yourself, not just spiritually or emotionally, but physically. You were never meant to burn out to prove your light. You were meant to tend to it, so it could shine consistently, generously, without collapse. So let's get practical here. Start simple. Before you reach for your phone in the morning, reach for warm water. Wake your system gently. Allow your energy to rise with intention, not urgency. Step outside just for 10 or 15 minutes if you can. Let natural light hit your skin. Your body responds to the sun just as your soul does. It remembers its rhythm, its breath, its place in this world. Throughout the day, notice what you feed yourself, not out of guilt, but out of care. More greens, more whole grains, more foods that actually came from the earth. You don't need to overhaul your diet overnight. You just need to make one nourishing choice at a time, not to shrink yourself, but to sustain yourself. And then, perhaps most importantly, begin giving yourself quiet time before sleep. Put the phone away. Let the dopamine settle. Dim the lights. Your body, like the moon, needs darkness to restore. Let it rest before it begs you for it. Healing doesn't always mean fixing what's broken. Sometimes it means preventing the breakdown before it starts. And as you do all this, consider this color, olive green. It's not loud. It's not demanding. It holds a quiet strength, the kind of strength you need this week. Wearing or surrounding yourself with this tone can gently ground your nervous system, settle your breath, and remind your body that it's safe to rest and restore. You've done so much, Leo. You've carried so many. You've shown up with courage even on the days when you felt like crumbling. But now, it's your turn. Not to retreat, but to recalibrate. To remember that being strong doesn't mean running on empty. It means listening early, before the burnout. It means choosing to protect the fire inside of you by tending to the vessel that holds it. This isn't about chasing some image of health. It's about honoring the only home your soul has in this life. Not out of vanity. Out of reverence. And if that stirs something in you, if a part of you knows it's time to stop pushing and start listening, write it in the comments. Say it out loud. Let this be your promise to yourself. Because the body hears everything, even what the mind won't say. And right now, it's asking for you. Be kind enough to answer. You've made it this far with me, and that alone says something powerful about you. It says your soul is awake. It says you're listening not just to this message, but to something deeper, something older, something wise within you that's been waiting patiently for the right moment to rise. And now here it is, November 25th. This day isn't meant to change the world around you. It's meant to change the way you see yourself in it. Not as someone waiting to be chosen or rescued, but as someone who is already equipped, already glowing, already deeply enough to begin again. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to prove anything. You only need to trust that the version of you that's emerging now through the healing, the remembering, the tiny steps you take each day is the one you've been waiting for all along. This is not about chasing some perfect breakthrough. It's about making space for a quieter kind of miracle, the moment you realize you've always had the power to shift your own life from the inside out. So I'll ask you gently, what's rising in your heart right now? What is the one truth you've been too tired, too distracted, or too afraid to fully say out loud? And can you speak it now, not just to yourself, but as a declaration of readiness? If it feels right to you, I invite you to write in the comments, "I am ready to step into the next chapter of my life." Say it as a sacred affirmation, as a message to the universe that you are no longer waiting, you are arriving. And if you feel something stirring, if something about this moment, this energy, this video found you at exactly the right time, that's not random. That's the universe replying to a quiet prayer you didn't even realize you whispered. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for trusting this space, for showing up with an open heart. Your presence means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every time you hit that subscribe button, you bring this message to more souls who, just like you, are ready to remember their light. You're not alone. You're part of something sacred. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Eternal Mindfulness, not because of algorithms or trends, but so that you're always in the right place, at the right time, when your next miracle begins to unfold. Because Leo, you are not here to wait for the light. You are the light. So, are you ready to stop looking for the miracle and start becoming it? Let's walk forward, together. Your new chapter is waiting.